A few years ago, Xi Jinping inaugurating a new paradigm for development. He wants the Chinese economy to be less reliant on external influence, and at the same time, to make China a magnet for foreign companies, foreign capital, and foreign talent. And I think Germany perfectly illustrates the progress China has been making towards this dual circulation strategy, right? So put it simply, China needs Germany less, while Germany needs China more.
Regardless, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz struck a tough tone at Davos in January 2026. He said his new government has two clear goals.
First, Germany has to regain economic strength. Second, we want to make Europe a key player again in global politics, economically, and particularly in defense.
As Merz prepares for his first trip to Beijing as Chancellor, his bold rhetoric meets the cold reality of the balance sheet. Germany's trade deficit with China in 2025 was 89 billion euros.
And so Germany, which was a big surplus economy for many years, has symbolically now become a deficit economy of China. Where does this deficit come from? Does it come from a place of unfair competition? I mean, Chinese undeclared subsidies, support for companies that makes them able to export at a huge discount. This is at the crux of major problems in the EU-China trade relationship in 2026.
The world's second and third largest economies are locked in a massive lopsided relationship. China's economy is roughly 4 times the size of Germany's. Germany's trade gap with China is not just widening, it's at record levels. For decades, Germany taught China how to build cars. The exact starting point was October 1984, when Volkswagen signed a joint venture with SAIC in Shanghai. Germany supplied the blueprints, assembly lines, and training. German firms, in return, gained access to the world's biggest emerging market. Now the roles are reversed. China is now teaching Germany about electric cars. This industrial role reversal is said to be one of the most significant shifts in modern economic history.
You do hear a lot of talk now about the China Shock 2.0, this sort of industrial wave that hit areas of the Western world after China joined the WTO in 2001. They're now saying that this is going to happen again. Germany kitted out the workshop of the world with German machines. Chinese middle class, as it was emerging, bought German cars. You're now starting to see that effect fade.
Around 2020, German cars held nearly 25% of China's market. Today, that share has fallen to about 13%.
I think that Germany will have to face some very difficult choices about its relations with China as it develops.
I would say the headline challenge is China, formerly perhaps the most important market for German products, now is the most formidable competitor of German goods.
When I speak to some of those involved in German industry, they say that they're being outcompeted on price, both in China, in Germany, but also in third markets, like around the world.
When it comes to engineering innovation, that has also changed.
In recent years, we're also seeing that German companies increasingly locating their R&D to China.
It used to be common for German firms to keep their industrial knowledge in Germany and shield it from Chinese suppliers or joint venture partners. These days, German giants believe they must operate and train in the world's most demanding market to remain competitive.
And so we're now hearing the new kind of German corporate slogan of China being the fitness center, right? So the justification is that you have to be in China to be innovative and learn to be efficient in order to survive anywhere.
If you look at BMW, Volkswagen, they're doubling down. They're partnering with, for example, Huawei to kit out their cars with electronics, but those cars will be only sold in China. So you see very much that in China for China strategy. But if you talk to the companies that make the parts for those cars, then they would look at that very differently. So even within the industry, there's a dispute about what constitutes a healthy and cooperative arrangement with China.
This internal rift is also why giants like BASF and Volkswagen are rewriting their playbooks. They aren't pulling out, they're digging in. The goal? To ensure their China business survives a geopolitical storm, even if the bridge back to Europe is eventually severed. Another shift has taken place in the renewable energy sector.
Solar panel technology was invented in Germany and the US, but it was Chinese company that took over the technology and really commercialized it and began to produce it at scale and drive down the price so much that it becomes commercially viable. The solar panel manufacturers have been driven to near extinction in Europe. In Germany and in Brussels and in other European capitals, more or less, there is this resignation that Europe will not have a at-scale solar manufacturing industry. And then that much of the solar industry, solar panels will be imported from China. And I think now the wind industry is facing a similar debate.
Moving some of the operations and brains to China may boost efficiency, but it also gives up part of Germany's autonomy.
Now we're seeing German companies, they still depend on China for the market, and now they also depend on China for R&D. And on top of that, they depend on China for critical supplies, right? So we know the rare earth choke points, right?
China dominates the rare earth supply chain and controls key choke points like heavy rare earth separation and chemical processing. This creates big vulnerabilities for Western defense and electric vehicle industries. Beijing tightly controls export licenses. In this new era, one administrative delay in China can shut a factory floor in Stuttgart.
Rare earths has become one of the major issues in the entire EU-China relationship. I mean, the consensus among the people that I speak to who observe the EU-China relationship and the German-China relationship is that China doesn't feel like it needs to give the Europeans any concessions at the moment, and that comes into play when it comes to rare earths as well. Why is that? Because they know that the Europeans will not punch back whenever push comes to shove.
Germany has to regain economic strength.
While China controls the raw materials, Germany still controls some of the high-tech tools to turn them into finished products.
For example, the company Zeiss is the only company that makes the smoothest mirror in the world that is used for the most advanced semiconductor fabrication machine.
But while Germany still holds some keys to the chip industry, the broader manufacturing script is being flipped on its head.
Historically, a Chinese factory, maybe you have the robotics, the machine tools, the smart manufacturing that's made in Germany. But maybe what you're looking at is further down the line is a total inversion of that. Maybe in the future you're going to have German car factories in Europe kitted out with Chinese robots, Chinese smart machines, and you compare that to how it was. It's such a symbolic shift.
German firms are shifting investment towards China as confidence in the US has fallen under President Trump, yet they still see many obstacles with the Chinese economy. Weak intellectual property protection, hard to navigate market, strong local competition, and political and policy uncertainty.
We want to make Europe a key player again in global politics, economically, and particularly in defense.
The big geopolitical challenges of the day in Europe is the Russia-Ukraine war, and China is seen in Europe to be too close to Russia, and that has been like a spoiler in the entire EU-China relationship. I think politically, Beijing will see Merz and his cabinet as hawkish on Russia. They would have picked up some of his realist rhetoric vis-a-vis the United States over recent months. But at his heart, I think they will understand Merz as a transatlanticist. I mean, this is a guy who spent a 5-year gap from politics working for a US asset manager, BlackRock. He's also very pro-business. They will be trying to appeal to his pro-business sensibilities. I mean, since he came into the Chancellor's role, he's talked a lot and has done a lot toward deregulation.
Perhaps the most important aspect that China needs from Germany is more geopolitical, right? So Germany being the sort of linchpin, anchoring country in the European Union, China wants to keep Germany on side to be an advocate of China's interest, to kind of push back on some of the more hawkish proposals or policy generated from Brussels, right? And in the past, Germany has played this role.
So what does China actually want from this first visit from the new German Chancellor?
The Chinese government, I'm sure, will be seeing this also as a diplomatic opportunity. I mean, look what's happening in the world. Donald Trump has burned the US-EU relationship. The transatlantic alliance is on the rocks. It's on life support, some would say. So I'm sure from the Chinese perspective, they will be doing everything they can to drive a further wedge between the EU and the US, and Germany and the US as well. But I'm very, very cautious when it comes to these predictions that Trump is pushing the EU and China closer together, although stranger things have happened.
Merz isn't going to Beijing for a photo op. He is after deals for Germany. Can he and his entourage of senior business leaders deliver?
I would say, like, right now, the trajectory is not very promising. So far, it seems all these both external and internal pressures are pointing towards maintaining the status quo rather than coming up with whatever strategically advantageous or defiant changes.